Chapter 481, Trouble is Coming. As a low-tier zombie, the zombie queen naturally knew what a master-level zombie represented. But why were there master-level zombies in this area? However, she suddenly remembered that Ada and Hongyi were just low-tier zombies, so why had they become master-level zombies? The zombie queen couldn't believe it at all. But the fact was right before her eyes, and she had no choice but to believe it. She knew that all of this was because of the demon in front of her. Yili was also quite satisfied that his stagnant level had finally begun to change. He looked at the zombie queen, who was still in shock, her face filled with horror. Let me introduce you, Ada, a master-level zombie, titled Fist God. Hongya, a master-level zombie, titled Frost. Bai Wawa, a low-tier zombie, titled Iron Feet. Yutong, a low-tier zombie, titled Petrification. After Yili introduced them to the zombie queen was even more horrified. And you can call me Demon King, Yili. Yili slowly said to the zombie queen. The zombie queen swallowed hard after hearing Yili's words. She looked at Yili's flawless face, and at this moment, there were no words to describe her shock. Demon King Yili. These 4 words caused endless shock in her heart. Yili paid no more attention to the zombie queen. Now only Ada and Hongya had become master-level zombies, which was still far from enough. He ordered the Apocalypse Legion to attract zombies, but this time, the area was not only in Star City, but also in the surrounding areas, and he told them to do it as long as possible. The zombie queen was still looking at Yili, making a decision in her heart. A few seconds later, she finally said her decision. Okay. I'm willing to be your zombie. The zombie queen looked at Yili and said firmly. Yili was not surprised at all. He knew that the zombie queen would agree sooner or later. It was just a matter of time. Ding, loyalty of the Lord-level zombie to the host has increased. Would you like to extract the Lord-level zombie into the zombie grid? Yes. Immediately, the zombie queen's portrait appeared in the zombie grid. Above the synthesis grid, there was the zombie grid. The portraits of each zombie in the Apocalypse Legion were in the zombie grid. Yili had no intention of buying a zombie loyalty pill for the zombie queen in the zombie store. He could buy one, but it wasn't necessary. Suddenly, Yili heard some voices. Do you think the Demon King Yili is in Star City? We've searched so many places, I'm sure the Demon King Yili is in Star City. But there's a zombie queen in Star City. What if? Don't be afraid, as long as we don't disturb the zombie queen. Yili smiled faintly. It seemed that someone was finally going to find him. Nowadays, all major forces were looking for Yili to get their hands on the dragon-slaying blade he possessed. The zombie queen had also heard it and looked at Yili. She called out to him, Master. Her meaning was clear. What are you going to do, Master? Hearing this word, Master, Yili still felt a bit awkward, but the voice of the zombie queen was quite pleasant. Yili smiled and said, Since someone is looking for trouble, let's go meet them. The zombie queen nodded, and together with Yili, they headed to a certain location. Chapter 482, Everyone, stay here today. At this moment, over a dozen 7th-tier evolved beings appeared on the streets of Star City, searching for the figure of the Demon King. Yili, where could this Demon King be hiding? Don't let me find him, otherwise, I'll make sure he knows what I'm capable of. Exactly, this Demon King, Yili, claims to be neither human nor a member of the Dark Race. He even has a powerful Apocalypse Legion under his command. But one don't think he's anything special. These dozen or so people were all high-leveled evolved beings. They were extremely confident in their strength, not to mention that there were so many of them. Now that the dragon-slaying blade had reappeared, who didn't want to get it? Yili and the zombie queen were standing on the rooftop of a high-rise building, calmly observing the over a dozen high-tier evolved beings down on the street. Yili couldn't understand why these people were so reckless, showing such little regard for their lives. Wasn't life precious? it looks like we should split up and search. After all, we're all 7th tier evolved beings. It should be easy to deal with the Demon King, one of them said. More than a dozen 7th tier evolved beings nodded and were about to disperse to find Yili. At this moment, they suddenly heard a cold voice. Everyone, stay here today, Yili said calmly to the group of over a dozen 7th tier evolved beings. The over a dozen 7th tier evolved beings were taken aback. Leaving aside how this youth had appeared, his words were rather amusing. They were all 7th tier evolved beings, yet a young man who looked to be in his early 20s wanted them to stay. Brat, do you know who you're talking to? How many guts do you have? One 7th tier evolved being sneered, looking at Yili with disdain. The zombie queen was still on the balcony. She knew that in front of her master, these people were like ants. She didn't need to do anything. Yili smiled indifferently. Do you believe that one can make you see your own corpses within 1 second? When this statement came out, the over a dozen 7th tier evolved beings were first shocked, but then they burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. They dared to swear that they had never heard such a funny joke in their entire lives, it was simply too hilarious. What is this brat saying? That he can make us see our brains in 1 second? One can't take it anymore, my tears are about to burst. One 7th tier evolved being said mockingly, Brat, do you know that we're all 7th tier evolved beings? Of course, I do, Yili nodded. Then why do you dare to say such things? Yili thought for a moment and looked at the 7th tier evolved being who had spoken. Because I am the Demon King, Yili. What? When the over dozen 7th tier evolved beings heard this, their faces turned rigid, and they no longer laughed out loud. You're the Demon King, Yili, one 7th tier evolved being said in shock. Are you very surprised? Yili smiled calmly. But I have to tell you, this is the last time you're surprised. With those words, Yili retrieved the dragon-slaying blade from the system space. The over dozen 7th tier evolved beings were shocked as they stared at the sword in Yili's hand. Of course, they recognized it as the dragon-slaying blade. But before they could ask more questions, Yili suddenly swung his sword. Swish! A blade aura stretched out, as if it had cleaved through space itself. Chapter 483, Leaving Star City. The faces of the dozen or so 7th tier evolved beings were filled with horror because they had discovered that they couldn't withstand such an attack. They wanted to escape, they really did. But how could they escape with this kind of speed? The entire process was smooth, not even taking a full second. The lives of the dozen or so 7th tier evolved beings had permanently disappeared from this world. Yili's face remained calm as he looked at the corpses of the dozen or so 7th tier evolved beings. He calmly said, I told you that within 1 second, you'd be able to see your own corpses. Why didn't you believe me? With that, he stored the dragon-slaying blade in the system space. The zombie queen watched all this unfold on the balcony and felt that her previous actions were indeed ridiculous. She actually dared to fight her master. Not to mention these 7th tier evolved beings, even she would have to use all her strength to withstand such a slash. Come down, Yili said as he looked towards the balcony where the zombie queen was. The zombie queen came to her senses and jumped down to join Yili. Alright, let's go, Yili said calmly. Understood, master, the zombie queen nodded. Why did the zombie queen acknowledge Yili as her master? It was because after seeing Yili synthesizing zombies, she realized that if she didn't agree, she might die. She never doubted Yili's ability to kill her. Yili and the zombie queen left Star City. Not long after they left Star City, Yili saw several helicopters in the sky. Yili smiled. It seemed that these helicopters were also looking for him. What he hadn't expected was that the helicopters flew so high that they seemed to have discovered him and the zombie queen. They were flying down towards them. Yili smiled calmly, thinking that a few more people were coming to meet their end. To make a name for himself, it seemed that everything he had done at Cloud Peak Academy had been the right move. Now who didn't know Yili? All major forces were looking for the Demon King Yili to get their hands on the dragon-slaying blade. Unfortunately, Yili would let them know what real strength was. Being respected was much better than being feared. Click, click, click. 5 helicopters landed on a large lawn, and a group of genetic warriors disembarked. Most of them were 6th-tier evolved beings, and the leader was a 7th-tier evolved being. They were even weaker than the previous group. The leader led the group of 6th-tier evolved beings to Yili, Zombie Queen. The 7th-tier evolved being was a little surprised. He really didn't understand why the Zombie Queen still dared to leave Star City. In the early years, the Warrior Alliance established a rule for the Zombie Queen that as long as the Zombie Queen left Star City, she would be eliminated. All these years, the Zombie Queen had never left Star City. Zombie Queen, we are from the Warrior Alliance, the 7th-tier evolved being said to the Zombie Queen. The Zombie Queen replied emotionlessly, that has nothing to do with me. This is my master. The message was clear, my master is here, why are you ignoring my master? The 7th-tier evolved being was surprised and turned to look at Yili. This look left him somewhat dumbfounded. He just couldn't understand why a youth who looked to be around 20 would be with the Zombie Queen. Chapter 484, Suppressing with Ease. Besides, the Zombie Queen actually called this human youth master? The group of 6th-tier evolved beings behind him were also stunned. In their opinion, such a thing would never happen. Who are you? Since Yili could make the Zombie Queen call him master, the 7th-tier evolved being knew that Yili was no ordinary person. Yili. Yili said slowly. Oh, Yili, the 7th-tier evolved being suddenly seemed to realize something, and his pupils contracted rapidly. It was as if he had heard the most terrifying words in history. You are. Demon King Yili. As soon as he said this, the group of 6th-tier evolved beings behind the 7th-tier evolved being were all shocked. No matter what, they couldn't have imagined that the person before them would be Demon King Yili. The 7th-tier evolved being swallowed hard. He had thought that Demon King Yili was nothing special. Now he realized he was not only wrong but entirely mistaken. Not to mention Yili's true strength, just the fact that the Zombie Queen called him her master indicated that the situation was no longer easy to control. Zombie Queen, do you really have to help Demon King Yili? The 7th-tier evolved being stared at the Zombie Queen. Although the Zombie Queen was a Lord-level zombie, the 7th-tier evolved being wasn't particularly afraid of her because they were genetic warriors of the Warrior Alliance. Ridiculous. You bunch of useless people dare to speak so arrogantly to me? The Zombie Queen disdainfully looked at the group of genetic warriors before her. The 7th-tier evolved being didn't bother to continue looking at the Zombie Queen, he fixed his gaze on Yili. Demon King Yili, hand over the dragon-slaying blade, and I won't give you a hard time. You should know about the name of the Warrior Alliance, right? Yili smiled. He actually laughed. Why were there always so many stupid ants? If you want the dragon-slaying blade, come and get it, Yili said calmly. The 7th-tier evolved being was taken aback. He wasn't sure if the Zombie Queen would intervene, so he didn't dare to approach. If the Zombie Queen did intervene, they would be powerless to resist. Seeing the hesitating 7th-tier evolved being, Yili smiled again. Since you won't come over, I'll come to you. With that, he slowly walked toward the 7th-tier evolved being, and the Zombie Queen followed closely behind. The 7th-tier evolved being stared fixedly at the approaching Yili. Demon King Yili, don't think that I won't take action just because the Zombie Queen is here. Yili's face remained calm as he had no desire to converse with this group of ants. How can people like you ever change? Only death can make you change. As he spoke, dozens of golden spiritual lights flew out. As the sound of these dozens of attacks echoed, the 7th-tier evolved being and the group of 6th-tier evolved beings all died with terrifying blood holes on their foreheads. Ants like them were easily crushed with just a wave of a hand. Ding! The zombie queen's loyalty to the host has increased again. The system's voice sounded in Yili's mind. Yili thought that since he had nothing to do now, he might as well go to Yun City under Cloud Peak Mountain for a meal. Yili put the zombie queen into the system space and used swift steps to quickly reach Yun City. After finding a decent-looking restaurant, Yili ordered some dishes. Soon, the dishes arrived, and he began to eat and drink. Chapter 485, The Shock of the Masses. After the dishes were served, Yili started eating and drinking. Have you heard? Something big has happened recently. A middle-aged man, clearly drunk, said to the people around him. What big thing? A man asked hastily. Have you heard of Demon King Yili? Demon King Yili. Those who had heard of him were all astonished, while those who hadn't were left dumbfounded. Who is Demon King Yili? A commoner who hadn't heard of him asked, puzzled. You don't know Demon King Yili? He's done all these things. The drunken middle-aged man began to recount what he knew. What? In an instant, everyone present was left dumbfounded. Most of them had only heard of the name Demon King Yili and had no idea about all these things. I heard that Demon King Yili isn't human or a member of the dark race, but a demon. Demon? The crowd was stunned once again. Obviously, they had never heard of the demon race. Recently, there have been rumors that the demon race, even above the dark race, has only one demon in the entire continent, and that's Demon King Yili. Hiss. The crowd couldn't help but gasp at the news. Only one demon in the entire continent, no wonder he's so formidable. By the way, both the Warrior Alliance and the Dark Race, as well as other major powers, are all looking for Demon King Yili. Do you know why? Why? The crowd hurriedly asked. Clearly, Demon King Yili had deeply captivated their attention. The drunken middle-aged man took a big gulp of wine, wiped his mouth, and then said, because Demon King Yili has one of the 10 great divine weapons, the dragon-slaying blade. What? The people were astonished. One of the 10 great divine weapons. Of course, they had heard of the 10 great divine weapons, but it was so distant from their lives that they had long forgotten about them. But now that they heard it again and it was in the hands of the Demon King, Yili, how could they not be shocked? Yili shook his head. Information spread like wildfire, and he had never claimed that he was the only demon on the entire continent. But usually, that was how rumors worked. Just then, a young man walked in, followed by a very beautiful girl. The crowd looked at the young man and was instantly astonished. It's Wang Tian, the top talent of Cloud Peak Academy, someone whispered. Wang Tian often came to Yun City, and almost anyone who lived in Yun City knew him. Out of 100 people in Yun City, at least 90 knew King Tian. Young Master Tian, why are you eating in such a rundown restaurant? The girl behind Wang Tian pouted. Wang Tian smiled. Darling, don't judge a book by its cover. The food here is excellent. With that, Wang Tian looked around the restaurant, wanting to find a better spot to sit. But when he looked, Wang Tian was suddenly scared out of wits. What? Wang Tian felt like he was seeing things. He blinked his eyes repeatedly, but unfortunately, he wasn't mistaken. Yili. Currently, all the major powers were looking for him, and Wang Tian couldn't believe that Yili was sitting here so calmly, having a meal. The people in the restaurant saw Wang Tian's shocked expression and were all puzzled. They knew that Wang Tian was the top talent of Cloud Peak Academy, so how could he suddenly look so frightened? Following Wang Tian's gaze, they discovered a young man in his 20s sitting in the corner. By the way, just now, Wang Tian seemed to be talking about someone called Yili, a man whispered. Chapter 486, How many eyes does the horse god have? The crowd pondered the name Wang Tian just mentioned. Yi Li. Suddenly, everyone in the restaurant couldn't help but shudder, staring in horror at the youth in the corner. Could it be, is the youth in the corner the demon king Yi Li? Yi Li sat in the corner, casually picked up a teacup, took a sip, as if completely oblivious to the shock of everyone. Yi Li, now all major forces are looking for you. Why do you dare to show up in Yun City? Wang Tian regained his composure, staring at Yi Li and said coldly. Yi Li smiled faintly at his words. Major forces? Yi Li turned around, looking at Wang Tian indifferently. Where are these so-called major forces? Let them come out and let me see. Arrogant, absolutely arrogant. The people in the restaurant were all shocked. They never expected Yi Li to speak so arrogantly. Wang Tian secretly clenched his fists. As the grandson of the Grand Elder of the Warrior Alliance, he had been admired by countless people since childhood. However, at the Cloud Summit Academy, he was beaten by Yi Li. Suddenly, Wang Tian whispered something in the ear of the beautiful woman beside him. The beautiful woman nodded in shock and quickly ran out. Wang Tian's handsome face revealed a cold smile. He imagined that it wouldn't be long before Yi Li faced a tragic end. In his imagination, Yi Li's fate was truly miserable. Yi Li, to be honest, one really admire you, Wang Tian said triumphantly. Your strength is indeed strong, but you are too arrogant. In this world, arrogant people often have a bad ending, Wang Tian continued. Yi Li smiled faintly, unfortunately, 1 a.m. an exception. At these words, Wang Tian's pupils contracted rapidly, staring at Yi Li. Yi Li, the people from the Warrior Alliance are about to arrive. Today, let's see how you escape. Wang Tian roared at Yi Li. Yi Li, as if he hadn't heard anything, continued to sip his tea slowly. Hey, how many eyes does the horse god have? What? The people in the restaurant were shocked. They felt that Yi Li was too domineering, and even a bit unreasonable. Wang Tian clenched his teeth. He couldn't understand why Yi Li wasn't afraid at this point. Are you deaf? Can't you hear me asking you a question? Yi Li playfully looked at Wang Tian. Wang Tian widened his eyes. It was only now that he realized he had been too impulsive. He had no reinforcements by his side, and he was far from being Yi Li's opponent. For a moment, Wang Tian was at a loss. Not answering. Yi Li smiled, and then a golden spiritual light attacked Wang Tian. How could Wang Tian withstand such an attack? Ali! With a pig-like scream, a horrifying blood hole appeared on Wang Tian's right arm. Wang Tian was in extreme pain. It was a piercing and unbearable pain. How many eyes does the horse god have? Answer me, Yi Li spoke slowly. Everyone in the restaurant was terrified. They didn't even see clearly how Yi Li attacked, and a bloody hole had appeared on Wang Tian's arm. It's worth noting that Wang Tian's background was, at this moment, where could Wang Tian still answer Yi Li's question? He continued to emit heart-wrenching screams. Swish! Another golden spiritual light attacked. Ah! Wang Tian rolled on the ground in pain. On his other arm, there was also a horrifying blood hole. Chapter 487 I injured you, but you have to accept it. How many eyes does the horse god have? Yi Li asked the same question again. Upon hearing these words from Yi Li, Wang Tian felt a chill run from his tailbone to the top of his head. He felt as though he had fallen into an ice cave and had even forgotten about the pain. Wang Tian regretted it deeply. He cursed himself for provoking a devil like Yi Li. But he knew he had to answer, the consequences would be unimaginable if he didn't. T3. Wang Tian gritted his teeth, enduring the pain as he answered Yi Li's question. However, Wang Tian couldn't have anticipated that another golden spiritual light attack would follow. Swish! With the sound of breaking wind, a blood hole appeared on Wang Tian's right leg. Ali. Oh. As the saying went, men didn't cry easily, only because he had yet to reach the depth of his sorrow. In agony, Wang Tian just couldn't hold back his tears. Wang Tian was crying now because the pain had reached a level he had never experienced before. I've injured you 3 times. Do you accept it? Yi Li casually spoke, his face as calm as water, as if he were doing something inconsequential. Silence, a deadly silence. The people in the restaurant were stunned to the point of speechlessness. If Wang Tian had already regretted his actions just now he regretted them 100-fold. Yi Li, seeing that Wang Tian hadn't responded, shook his head. He slowly raised a finger, and a golden spiritual light attack burst from his fingertip. Ali! Another scream, reminiscent of a pig being slaughtered, rang out. The intensity of the screams was chilling and hair-raising. Answer me, I've injured you 3 times, no, I've injured you 4 times. Do you accept it? Yi Li's face remained as calm as ever, as if he were discussing something trivial. At this moment, even Wang Tian's soul trembled, a warm stream of urine escaped from him. Ooh, oh. I accept it. I accept it. Wang Tian had no choice but to acknowledge defeat, he didn't dare not to. At that moment, the people in the restaurant finally realized the terror of Demon King Yi Li. Just then, a group of genetic warriors dressed in white burst into the restaurant with 2 words on their backs, Warrior Alliance. Young Master Tian, what happened to you? An 8th-tier evolved being looked at Wang Tian in shock. They were genetic warriors stationed in Yun City, and if the Grand Elder blamed them for the serious injury Wang Tian had suffered, they wouldn't be able to bear it. It's Yi Li, it must be Demon King Yi Li, the beautiful girl who had run out of the inn exclaimed. The 8th-tier evolved being and a group of 7th-tier evolved beings quickly scanned the restaurant. The beautiful girl pointed at the young man in the corner with her finger. It's him, he's Demon King Yi Li. The genetic warriors from the Warrior Alliance followed the direction of the girl's finger. Suddenly, another golden spiritual light attack struck. The girl's finger was broken. Ali! The girl screamed instantly. The genetic warriors from the Warrior Alliance were horrified by this scene. Never point at my head with your finger. Don't try my patience. Yi Li spoke slowly. The people in the restaurant swallowed hard. This was Demon King Yi Li. Could there really be such a terrifying human in the world? But Demon King Yi Li was right in front of them, how could they not believe it? Are you Demon King Yi Li? The leader stared at Yi Li coldly. At this point, Wang Tian had already been carried out for treatment. Yi Li nodded. Yes, I am Demon King Yi Li. Chapter 488, How about I send you to hell with the dragon-slaying blade? The level 8 evolved being stared at Yi Li. If you are the Demon King Yi Li, hand over the dragon-slaying blade and I will let you die a good death. Hee hee. Yi Li shook his head. He had heard such words countless times. Unfortunately, everyone who spoke to him like this had ended up dead. Do you really want the dragon-slaying blade? Yi Li calmly spoke. With those words, Yi Li retrieved the dragon-slaying blade from the system space. A 5-clawed blood dragon instantly coiled in the restaurant, and waves of blade radiance dazzled everyone, making it impossible for them to open their eyes. This is the dragon-slaying blade. The eyes of the 8th-tier evolved being were burning with excitement. Do you like it? Yi Li playfully looked at the 8th-tier evolved being. One like it, of course. The 8th-tier evolved being quickly responded. Yi Li fell silent for a few seconds and then said, since you like the dragon-slaying blade, how about one use it to send you to hell? What do you think? As soon as these words were spoken, the people in the restaurant were shocked beyond measure. All the genetic warriors of the Warrior Alliance froze like clay sculptures. They never expected Yi Li to say such a thing. Everyone, get out. Yi Li was never a good person, but he was not a bad person either. Upon hearing these words, the people in the restaurant dared not stay any longer. They hurriedly rushed out at the fastest speed ever recorded. Demon King Yili, 1 a.m. an 8th tier evolved being. Do you really think you can do anything to me with the dragon-slaying blade? Weapons are just tools, the most important thing is one's own strength. The 8th tier evolved being coldly spoke to Yili. In the eyes of the 8th tier evolved being, Yili was too young, and at this age, what high level could he possibly be? Unfortunately, you overlook something that is enough to make you all lose your lives. What is it? I, Yili, am not a human, but a demon. The pupils of the 8th tier evolved being rapidly contracted upon hearing this. He already had an idea of what Yili meant, but when he reacted, it was already too late. Demonic Devil Blade Cross Slash. The dragon-slaying blade fell, and a crimson cross slash descended upon the genetic warriors. Upon impact, countless demonic figures accompanied the attack, appearing extremely powerful. Boom! The restaurant collapsed. And the genetic warriors of the Warrior Alliance all lay lifeless on the ground. On the streets of Yun City, countless people looked at the young man before them. Just a glance at him with his big blade made them feel a shiver down their spines. Is this Demon King Yili? A man who had just come out of the restaurant looked at Yili in horror. Who is the boss? Yili spoke slowly. The restaurant's boss dared not hide, trembling, he walked out from the crowd. Why, Your Excellency, I am the boss. Yili exchanged a lot of post-apocalyptic coins in the Point Mall and threw them to the boss. This is the compensation for you, Yili said to the boss. The boss was startled. He opened the bag and took a look. Then he was shocked. So much money. This amount of money was enough for him to live without worries for a lifetime. Looking at Yili again, the boss had originally thought that Demon King Yili was a completely bad person, but now it seemed that he was not only wrong, but also thoroughly wrong. Yili was mentally connected to the Apocalypse Legion, and he noticed that the Apocalypse Legion was bringing a large number of zombies towards Yun City. Chapter 489. Large numbers of zombies appear outside Yun City Cloud Peak Academy, the president's office. President Gu Feng, Vice President Xiao He, and a group of 9th-level instructors were discussing something. Suddenly, a panicked 8th tier evolved being rushed in. President, something big has happened. President Gu Feng, Vice President Xiao He, and the instructors were all startled at the same time. What happened? President Gu Feng asked hastily. Outside Yun City, there are large numbers of zombies led by the Apocalypse Legion. The 8th tier evolved being exclaimed in fear. What? Everyone in the president's office was stunned. They had encountered the Apocalypse Legion in Cloud Peak Academy that day. Now, the Apocalypse Legion was appearing outside Yun City with a large horde of zombies. What did that mean? And the Apocalypse Legion was under the command of Demon King Yili. Yun City, Warrior Alliance Branch. A terrified 9th tier evolved being listened to some news. You're saying Demon King Yili appeared in Yun City, injured young Master Tian, and killed an 8th tier evolved being from our Warrior Alliance and a group of 7th tier evolved beings with a single slash of the dragon-slaying blade? Yes, my lord, a 7th tier evolved being replied. Oh no, my lord, oh no, my lord. At this moment, another 7th tier evolved being ran in. What's the panic about? The 9th tier evolved being shouted. The 7th tier evolved being swallowed hard, wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. My lord, tens of thousands of zombies have appeared in Yun City, including 2 master-level zombies, 5 10th tier lord-level zombies, and 18 9th tier zombies. How was this possible? This 9th tier evolved being was shocked to the extreme, even thinking he must have misheard. Quick! Report to headquarters, the 9th tier evolved being roared. All the genetic warriors of Cloud Peak Academy and the Warrior Alliance branch in Yun City gathered on the outer walls of Yun City. They looked at the number of zombies before them and couldn't help but swallow their saliva. It had been many years since they had seen such a scene. And there were even master-level and lord-level zombies. If the elite of the Warrior Alliance didn't arrive, Yun City would undoubtedly be conquered. At this moment, two figures appeared on the outer wall of Yun City. The genetic warriors of Cloud Peak Academy and the Warrior Alliance branch in Yun City looked at the two figures before them. No. More accurately, it should be a demon and a zombie. This demon was undoubtedly Yili. And this zombie was the Zombie Queen. They looked at the sudden appearance of Yili and the Zombie Queen, and everyone was so frightened that their souls seemed to leave their bodies. Demon King Yili. Zombie Queen. The president of Cloud Peak Academy, Gu Feng, shouted loudly. Yili ignored the terrified crowd. He shouted to the Apocalypse Legion, "Take action." Immediately, the Apocalypse Legion began to act. He leaped into the air, opened the synthesis grid in his mind, and started synthesizing zombies. Bai Wawa upgraded to the master level. Yutong upgraded to the master level. All Chi upgraded to the master level. Ding! The loyalty of the Zombie Queen to the host has reached IOO%. At this moment, the Zombie Queen's eyes, when looking at Yili, became extremely loyal. Ding! Detecting that the host's strength is too powerful, the host will break through soon. Instantly, Yili felt as if he were in magma, and at the same time, as if he were in the South Polar ice. He had never felt so uncomfortable before. Now, he was a 10th-tier evolved being. With just one more step, he could become a transcender. Chapter 490, Becoming a Transcender. The eyes of the genetic warriors of Cloud Peak Academy and the Warrior Alliance branch were widened even more than a cow's eyes, and their mouths could fit an extra-large bowl. Is this the power of a demon? Vice President Xiao He of Cloud Peak Academy swallowed hard. He felt as if all the strength in his body had been drained, and he secretly regretted that he had actually provoked such a demon when he was at Cloud Peak Academy. Suddenly, Yili's entire body was enveloped in water and fire. President Gu Feng of Cloud Peak Academy widened his eyes. He's about to break through to a transcender. What? The genetic warriors on the outer walls retreated 3 steps upon hearing this. A transcender? Besides those in the headquarters of the Warrior Alliance, was someone actually going to become a transcender? After a moment, thunder came from the sky. Boom! Immediately, a violent explosion occurred in the area where Yili was. Failed? President Gu Feng widened his eyes. Generally, when an evolved being attempts to break through to a transcender, such a situation indicates a breakthrough failure. However, what the genetic warriors couldn't even think of was that when the water and fire aura disappeared, Yili stood in the sky like an ancient demon. At this moment, his hair stood upright, his eyes were like lightning, and his face appeared golden. His upper garment had disappeared, revealing muscles resembling a coiling dragon, giving the greatest visual impact ever. How was that possible? Gu Feng was dumbfounded. He would rather believe that the sky was about to collapse than believe that Yili had actually succeeded in breaking through. Now, Demon King Yili not only had master-level zombies, but his own strength had also reached the level of a transcender. Is this the power of a transcender? Yili looked at his hands, feeling at least hundreds of times more powerful than before. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a super treasure chest. Would you like to open it? Open it, Yili said without hesitation. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the synthesis technique, batch synthesis. Yili was surprised. Batch synthesis? He quickly looked at the introduction of batch synthesis. Batch synthesis, a magical zombie synthesizing technique, minimum quantity unlimited, maximum 10,000 zombies. Seeing this, Yili's handsome face lit up. Synthesize 10,000 zombies at once? This was indeed a golden finger. Ding! Since the host has become a transcender, congratulations on obtaining a chance to draw the lottery. Yi Li used this prize. The virtual pointer started spinning in the roulette, and after a few seconds, the virtual pointer stopped spinning. Congratulations to the host for drawing the attack skill, Demon God Domineering Fist. Demon God Domineering Fist, Sky Level Skill, 1 punch, stars extinguished, 2 punches, the sky shattered. A Sky Level Skill? Yi Li checked the skill introduction. It was only then that he realized that above SSS level skills, there were Earth level skills, and above Earth level skills were Sky level ones. Would the host like to cultivate the Demon God Domineering Fist now? Yes. Demon God Domineering Fist cultivation begins 10%. 30%. 60%. 100%. Demon God Domineering Fist cultivation completed. Yi Li was in midair. He looked at the genetic warriors on the outer walls and slowly said, "Who else wants the dragon-slaying blade? Just speak up." But now, who dared to speak? "I want it." An abrupt voice entered everyone's ears. The genetic warriors were shocked. How could someone still dare to speak at this time? Was he seeking death? Chapter 491, Fifth War General, Lei Gang. Suddenly, in mid-air, a second-tier master-level Dark Race member appeared. Dark Temple. Gu Feng widened his eyes, exclaiming in fear. The Dark Temple was the most powerful force among the Dark Race members in this region. Only the Dark Temple had master-level Dark Race members. Demon King Yi Li, we've been observing you for a long time. We've known about you since you were in Anan Base City. We haven't taken action against you because we find your abilities terrifying. Join our Dark Temple. Ha ha ha. At this moment, a hearty laughter echoed in the air. In Yun City, when did the Dark Race have a say? As the voice fell, a middle-aged man, towering like an iron tower, appeared in everyone's field of vision. It's the Fifth War General of the Warrior Alliance. A genetic warrior on the outer wall exclaimed. This middle-aged man was named Lei Gang, a second-tier transcender. Lei Gang, Demon King Yi Li is the one chosen by our Dark Temple. If your Warrior Alliance interferes, you should be aware of the strength of the Black Thunder Temple. Lei Gang smiled, Dark Temple. Unfortunately, the main temple of the Dark Temple is not in this area, and we, the Warrior Alliance, are not afraid of you. Yi Li listened to the conversation between the two. He didn't expect that he had been observed by the Dark Temple since he was in Anan Base City. It seems, Yi Li thought that the world was indeed vast. Demon King Yi Li, hand over the dragon-slaying blade and come with me to the Warrior Alliance. Lei Gang stared at Yi Li and shouted. A second-tier master-level Dark Race member, a second-tier transcender. Yi Li was only a first-tier transcender now. Unfortunately, he already possessed the sky-level skill, Demon God Domineering Fist. Did they really think, Yi Li sneered. Did they really think him a lamb waiting to be slaughtered? What if I don't agree? Yi Li looked at Lei Gang indifferently. Lei Gang was taken aback and then coldly said to Yi Li, Demon King Yi Li, I just witnessed your breakthrough to a transcender. You're only a first-tier transcender. Do you think you're invincible? Yi Li smiled, feel free to try. The second-tier master-level Dark Race member suddenly disappeared in mid-air. Demon King Yi Li, do you want to fight against the Fifth War General? It's ridiculous. That's the Fifth War General of the Warrior Alliance. Lei Gang coldly smiled, Demon King Yi Li, since you're unwilling, then I have to take action. The Fifth War General Lei Gang, a body refiner, had a weapon-like body. Suddenly, Lei Gang disappeared in place. His speed was astonishing as he threw a fierce punch at Yi Li. This punch was the most terrifying one Yi Li had ever seen since he crossed into this parallel world. Unfortunately, how could he be afraid? Yi Li also threw a punch. Demon King Yi Li, is he crazy? He's actually going head-to-head with the Fifth War General. Lei Gang's fist and Yi Li's fist collided heavily. Boom! How could this scene be described in words? Lei Gang was somewhat surprised. He could never have imagined that Yi Li could actually take his punch head-on. Demon King Yi Li, you're truly extraordinary. Lei Gang stared at Yi Li and said firmly. But you still won't be able to defeat me. I will now use my strongest move. Lei Gang continued. As the sound fell, Lei Gang shouted loudly, Overlord Thunder Fist. Suddenly, countless fist shadows mixed with thunderbolts rushed fiercely towards Yi Li. Chapter 492, Met Lu Qingxue again. Yi Li smiled faintly, thinking, just because you have martial arts, does it mean I don't? But only saw Yi Li raise his fist and fiercely strike towards Lei Gang. Demon God Domineering Fist. With this punch, numerous demon shadows accompanied it. Boom! An earth-shattering sound came, and everyone felt as if the sky was collapsing. The fear on their faces reached its peak. Splurt! Suddenly, a figure flew backwards towards the outer city wall. When everyone clearly saw the figure flying over, their eyes widened more than ever before. Because the one flying over was none other than the 5th War General, Lei Gang. Shock, absolute shock. The mighty 5th War General of the Warrior Alliance was actually defeated? And it seemed he was seriously injured. Meanwhile, Yi Li, with his serene face, showed no sign of emotion, as if nothing had happened. His demon god domineering fist was a celestial tier skill, while Lei Gang's Overlord Thunder Fist was at most an SSS level skill. If Lei Gang were not a body cultivator, his injuries would probably be even more severe. Yi Li activated the swift steps and disappeared with the Apocalypse Legion in the sky. Ding! Congratulations to the host for upgrading the Ancient Devil Tome to the 6th level. The system voice once again echoed in Yi Li's mind. The 6th level of the Ancient Devil Tome? That meant he would not fear even a 3rd-tier transcender now. You go gather zombies everywhere. Yi Li wanted to turn all the zombies in the Apocalypse Legion into master-level zombies first. Immediately, all the zombies of the Apocalypse Legion began to move in all directions. At this moment, Yi Li was on a small mountain. It seemed, Yi Li squinted his eyes. There seemed to be someone here. He activated the Ancient Devil Tome to take a look but found someone he was familiar with. Lu Qingxue. On that day in Huangjiang Base City, Lu Qingxue was preparing to leave with the people from Cloud Peak Academy. He saved Lu Qingxue and let her follow Qian Ruxue back to the Warrior Alliance. At that time, he had no idea that the Warrior Alliance was so close to Cloud Peak Academy. At this moment, Lu Qingxue was sitting on the ground, eating compressed biscuits with several other girls, taking a break. Roar! Suddenly, a roar of a fierce beast sounded. It was a 7th-tier savage beast. This savage beast was a tiger-tailed giant snake, about a dozen meters long. Quick, retreat! Lu Qingxue shouted, and then several girls all retreated several meters. They were all only 5th-tier evolved beings. Faced with a 7th-tier savage beast, they were no match. Why panic? A calm and indifferent voice entered Lu Qingxue's ears. Lu Qingxue was startled because she felt that this voice was very familiar. Following the sound, she discovered it was Yi Li. Senior. Lu Qingxue couldn't believe her eyes. She rubbed her eyes, but she wasn't mistaken. It's just a little snake. Why are you so scared? Yi Li said with a faint smile. Several girls were a little stunned. The young man in front of them, who looked a few years older, why did he speak so arrogantly? The 7th-tier tiger-tailed giant snake stared at Yi Li. It could understand Yi Li's words. How could it endure it? Suddenly, the 7th-tier tiger-tailed giant snake pounced towards Yi Li. Yi Li's eyes shot out a golden spiritual light, and in an instant, the 7th-tier tiger-tailed giant snake died instantly. A 7th-tier tiger-tailed giant snake was killed so easily. Chapter 493, Heavenly Star Academy. Several girls were dumbfounded. They originally thought Yili was very arrogant, but now they didn't think so at all. Is he really that powerful? Qingxue, is he your brother? A girl asked while looking at Lu Qingxue. Lu Qingxue seemed not to hear, her eyes fixedly on Yili as if she were in a trance. What, are you excited to see me? Yili looked at Lu Qingxue faintly. When Lu Qingxue heard this, she came back to her senses, but she didn't know how to answer. Of course, she was excited to see Yili. Senior, how did you come here? Lu Qingxue asked with some doubt on her fair face. I've been here for a long time and gained some fame. Yili spoke slowly. Lu Qingxue was somewhat shocked, and she seemed to think of something. Senior, are you the Demon King? One should have thought of it earlier. Several girls looked at Lu Qingxue and then at Yili. They originally thought Yili was Lu Qingxue's brother, but now it seemed not. By the way, where are you now? Yili suddenly asked. I'm at Heavenly Star Academy. Lu Qingxue continued. Heavenly Star Academy, like Cloud Peak Academy, is a school founded by the Warrior Alliance. After Sister Qian brought me back, she asked me to go to Heavenly Star Academy. Heavenly Star Academy? It was the first time Yili had heard this name. Then take me there. Anyway, with nothing to do, Yili thought it would be fine to take a look. But, Senior, you are not a student of Heavenly Star Academy. Lu Qingxue said hesitantly. It's okay, just take me there. Yili said slowly. Lu Qingxue had to take Yili to Heavenly Star Academy, and the few girls were her close friends. At the gate of Heavenly Star Academy, Lu Qingxue and the few girls stopped. Senior, only students of Heavenly Star Academy can enter. You need this. After speaking, Lu Qingxue took out something similar to a student ID card. It's okay. You go in first. Yili's face remained calm. Lu Qingxue and the few girls entered Heavenly Star Academy, and Yili activated the swift steps, disappearing on the spot. After entering Heavenly Star Academy, Yili found that Heavenly Star Academy was not much different from Cloud Peak Academy. It also had a tower that seemed pretentious. On the tower were 3 big characters, Heavenly Star Tower. Under the tower was a square, and many students were practicing. Lu Qingxue and the few girls also arrived under the Heavenly Star Tower. Why aren't you wearing the school uniform of Heavenly Star Academy? A student looked at Yili in amazement. As soon as this remark came out, the students who were originally practicing with their eyes closed opened their eyes one after another. All the students of Heavenly Star Academy were wearing school uniforms, and Yili appeared particularly conspicuous. Lu Qingxue and the few girls were shocked. Is he senior? Lu Qingxue was very surprised, and she didn't understand how Yili got in. Do I need to explain whether one wore the school uniform or not? Yili looked at the third-tier evolved being in front of him indifferently. The third-tier evolved being was stunned. This person wasn't wearing the school uniform, but why did he sound so justified? Who is this person? So arrogant. Yeah, could he be a super genius? Impossible, there are only a few super geniuses in Heavenly Star Academy. The students were discussing animatedly. Excuse me, can you explain why you are not wearing the school uniform? Another young man appeared in Yili's eyes. This young man looked good, and he seemed to have high talent. He was a 6th-tier evolved being, 1 realm higher than Lu Qingxue. Chapter 494, Go and Call for Reinforcement. It's Yang Feng. Yang Feng is one of the geniuses of our Heavenly Star Academy. This is going to be interesting. Everyone in Heavenly Star Academy knew Yang Feng. There was no change in the calm face of Yili, and he did not respond to Yang Feng's words. In his eyes, a 6th-tier evolved being was nothing more than an ant. This classmate, please answer my question. Yang Feng frowned. The trees wish to be still, but the wind continues to blow. Why are there always so many ants causing trouble for him? Get lost. Yili said indifferently. What? The students widened their eyes. They couldn't believe that Yili dared to say such words. In the end, senior is senior, and he is so domineering wherever he goes. Lu Qingxue muttered to herself. What did you say? Yang Feng gritted his teeth. As soon as Yang Feng finished speaking, he let out a miserable scream. Ollie! Yang Feng flew backward. The students opened their eyes wide, unable to see Yili making a move at all. Just a sixth-tier evolved being, really not worth mentioning. Yili shook his head and smiled. At this moment, an eighth-tier instructor witnessed the scene. The instructor walked to Yili's side and looked at him coldly, saying, Don't you know that students of Heavenly Star Academy must wear school uniforms and are prohibited from fighting in the arena? I don't know, Yili shook his head. You. The eighth-tier instructor widened his eyes. This is something that every student of Heavenly Star Academy knows. Why don't you know? Yili smiled, I'm not a student of Heavenly Star Academy. As soon as these words were heard, the students couldn't help but gasp. Not a student of Heavenly Star Academy? Lu Qingxue couldn't help but sweat for Yili. This was an eighth-tier instructor, but thinking of Yili's title, the Demon King, she wasn't so worried. You are not a student of Heavenly Star Academy? The eighth-tier instructor stared blankly at Yili. Yang Feng had just climbed up from the ground at this time, looking at Yili with hatred. You are not a student of Heavenly Star Academy, and you even hit me. How should we settle this account? Yili smiled. How? Ollie! Yang Feng screamed again, then flew out again. Just settle it like this. The eighth-tier instructor was also a bit dumbfounded. He was an eighth-tier evolved being, but he couldn't see how Yili made his move. You're asking for death. The eighth-tier instructor snapped back to his senses and raised his big hand to slap Yili. Yili didn't move, letting the palm of the eighth-tier evolved being strike him. The students widened their eyes. If Yili didn't dodge, he would have no chance of survival. Lu Qingxue bit her teeth. She knew she had to trust Senior. Without any doubt, the palm of the eighth-tier evolved being hit Yili. But what happened next left everyone dumbfounded. Yili not only didn't fly backward, he didn't even take half a step back. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. The eighth-tier instructor shouted. In his eyes, this was impossible. Go and call for reinforcements. With your eighth-tier strength, you're not enough to deal with me. Yili spoke slowly. With that, the eighth-tier evolved being flew backward hundreds of meters away. The students were all stunned. Even the eighth-tier instructor was defeated so easily. They couldn't believe it. They really couldn't believe it. Chapter 495, Fourth General Yang Feng swallowed. He felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, wondering what monster he had provoked. Yili's face was as calm as water. He glanced at the students casually. Are you afraid? Yili continued, Never be afraid, because everything I do will make you afraid for 3 days and 3 nights. All the students were shocked again. They felt that Yili's words were too domineering. Suddenly, the president of the Heavenly Star Academy and a group of high-leveled evolved beings all appeared in front of Yili. The president of the Heavenly Star Academy was called Tian Bieyuan. He stared at Yili coldly. Who are you? How dare you mess around in our Heavenly Star Academy? Yili smiled. It's just a small Heavenly Star Academy. I can come and go as one please. Tian Bieyuan was shocked. He didn't expect Yili to dare to say such a thing. Brat. Before Tian Bieyuan finished speaking, he couldn't say anything else, because a big knife was already at his throat. Of course, this knife was the dragon-slaying blade. This, everyone present gasped. They really couldn't believe that all of this was real. And the knife in Yi Li's hand horrified them. Just looking at this knife made one's heart skip a beat. Why? Do you think one, Demon King Yi Li, am arrogant? Yi Li slowly said. Demon King Yi Li. Hearing this, everyone in the Heavenly Star Academy was horrified. Even if they died, they would never have thought that the young man in front of them was the Demon King. Yi Li, are you the Demon King Yi Li? Tian Baiyuan's eyes widened. A wicked smile appeared on Yi Li's handsome face. What do you think? I'm sorry. One didn't know that you were the Demon King, Lord Yi Li. If I had known that you were the Demon King, I wouldn't have dared to do this even if I had 10 guts. Tian Baiyuan knew that if the Demon King Yi Li wanted to kill him, it would be in the blink of an eye. Demon King Yi Li, the Alliance leader, invites you to see him. At this moment, a beautiful woman suddenly appeared in midair. The woman stepped on an immortal sword, looking extremely beautiful. It's the fourth general. An instructor of the Heavenly Star Academy said in horror. The fourth general of the Warrior Alliance's headquarters was called Li Yanlu, a Tier 3 Transcender, and her weapon was a peerless sword. Yi Li was a little puzzled. The Dark Temple could control his whereabouts, so could the Warrior Alliance. How did they do it? Go tell your Alliance leader that one, Yi Li, am not going. Yi Li thought that if I go just because you ask me to, wouldn't it be embarrassing? Li Yanlu frowned. Before she finished speaking, Yi Li interrupted her. Many people's hearts will ache when a beautiful person like you frowns, right? Unfortunately, I, Yi Li, am not afraid of the dark or your frown. Yi Li said frankly. Li Yanlu looked at Yi Li coldly. Yi Li, are you going or not? Alas. Yi Li sighed. It turns out that not only do you like to frown, but you are also deaf. Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to get married? Yi Li said faintly. You're asking for death. Li Yanlu was furious. As the fourth general of the Warrior Alliance's headquarters, when had she ever been humiliated like this? Swish! A terrifying sword light rushed towards Yi Li. Li Yanlu was a Tier 3 Transcender, and Yi Li was now a Tier 1 Transcender. The gap in strength was originally very large, but unfortunately, his ancient devil tome had already reached the 6th level. He had never underestimated the heroes of the world and had long known that there were super strong masters. Tell me, what's the matter? Yi Li slowly said. Although he couldn't beat Xiahou Jia, if he admitted defeat like this, would he still be the Demon King Yi Li? Demon King Yi Li, our Warrior Alliance wants to cooperate with you. Xiahou Jia looked at Yi Li and said. Cooperate? Yi Li didn't quite understand what Xiahou Jia meant. The Dark Temple in the north is the highest power of the Dark race. We can't destroy the Dark Temple in the north alone. As soon as he said this, Yi Li understood. I'm only a Tier 1 Transcender now. I don't think I can help much in a battle of that level, Yi Li replied truthfully. Demon King Yi Li, we know your terrifying ability, so please help us for the sake of the humans in the north. We've gathered many zombies. As long as you agree to us, we can give them for you to synthesize. Chapter 497 I am voluntary. When Yi Li heard this, he was really tempted. And the humans in the north, to be honest, he was also a human. In fact, even if he didn't cooperate with the Warrior Alliance, his ultimate path was to destroy the Dark race. Okay, I promise you. Yi Li said slowly. When Xiahou Jia heard this, a smile appeared on his dignified face. Demon King Yi Li, on behalf of the humans in the Northern Realm, thank you, Xiahou Jia said to Yi Li. By the way, Qian Ruxue, do any of you know her? Yi Li hadn't seen Qian Ruxue's father before. Why? Do you know my daughter? The first general, Qian Kun, was a little stunned. Of course. Take me to see her. Yi Li said lightly. Qian Kun looked at Xiahou Jia, ready to see what the alliance leader meant. Ah Kun, since the Demon King wants to see your daughter, take him there. Qian Kun nodded and then led Demon King Yili to a place. Soon, Yili saw Qian Ruxue. Qian Ruxue was already a Tier 7 evolved being. At this moment, she was holding her snow-white chin with her hand, thinking about something. I haven't seen you for a few years. Why don't you enter my dreams? A sudden voice entered Qian Ruxue's ears. Qian Ruxue was shocked and quickly turned around. As soon as she turned around, her tears fell uncontrollably. Yili. Qian Ruxue's voice was trembling. It's been a long time. I just came to see you, Yili said slowly. Skipping an hour, what? How dare the Demon King Yili? Qian Kun widened his eyes and roared. A woman was a little afraid. Uncle, I just saw sister enter the room with the Demon King. It might not be, what else might not be? This is intolerable. Then, Qian Kun found Yili. At this moment, Yili and Qian Ruxue were admiring the flowers. Demon King Yili, let's make it today. Qian Kun stared at Yili and said firmly. At this moment, Li Yanlu walked over. Demon King Yili, the alliance leader wants you to go over. Li Yanlu looked at Yili in disgust. Yanlu, I have something to settle with him. Qian Kun stared at Yili. Dad, one volunteered. Qian Ruxue suddenly said, blushing. Li Yanlu was stunned. Then, she suddenly thought of something and looked at Yili with even more disgust. Well. Qian Kun gnashed his teeth and could only go to the hall with Yili. Demon King Yili, you can synthesize those zombies now. Xiahou Jia looked at Yili and said. Okay. Yili nodded. Yanlu, take the Demon King Yi away, Xiahou Jia said to Li Yanlu. Li Yanlu was naturally unwilling. She looked at Yili in disgust. Let's go, Yanlu. Yili said to Li Yanlu. Li Yanlu couldn't help but shiver. What did you call me? Li Yanlu stared at Yili and asked. Yanlu. Please call me Li Yanlu. Okay, got it, Yanlu. Li Yanlu stomped her feet in anger. Then, Yili and Li Yanlu left the warrior alliance. Come with me to a place first. Yili looked at Li Yanlu and said. Where to? Li Yanlu's fair face was a little puzzled. We'll find out when we get there. Then, Yili and Li Yanlu came to a city. The city was already full of zombies. These zombies were naturally all gathered by the Apocalypse Legion. Chapter 498, Zombie Forest. Li Yanlu looked at the city in shock. She actually saw a few S-tier master-level zombies and many high-leveled zombies. Is that your Apocalypse Legion? Li Yanlu looked at Yili. Yes. Yili nodded. Immediately, Yili ordered the Apocalypse Legion to take action. He opened the synthesis grid in his mind. Now it was very easy for him to synthesize zombies. He could synthesize batch synthesis in bulk. The batch synthesis could synthesize up to 10,000 zombies. That was great. Before long, the Apocalypse Legion knocked all the zombies to the ground. Yili began to synthesize the batch synthesis zombies in batches. At this point, except for the 18 copper armor clawed zombies, all the zombies had become S-tier master-level zombies. Li Yanlu had heard from the alliance leader about the ability of Demon King Yili to synthesize zombies, but she didn't expect it to be so fast. That's it? Li Yanlu looked at Yili in shock. Then what else? Yili said indifferently. Li Yanlu looked at the Apocalypse Legion and found that 8 zombies had all become S-tier master-level zombies, and even the 18 clawed zombies had also become 10th-tier zombies. Let me introduce them to you. Fist God Zombie Da, Ironfoot Zombie by Wawa, Ice Zombie Hongye, Petrification Zombie Yutong, Ghost Sword Zombie Chi, Swallowing Zombie Bone Maiden, Divine Spear Zombie Long Yu, Yi Li looked at the zombie queen. He hadn't named her yet. Strength Zombie, MOU. As a strength-type zombie, the zombie queen was quite strong, so he called her Strength Zombie. As for the name, MOU, he just came up with this name randomly. These are the 18 copper armor-clawed zombies. Li Yanlu was still in a daze. Although she was a Tier 3 transcender, all of this was too terrifying. Now, except for the 18 copper armor-clawed zombies, the zombies had all become S-tier master-level zombies. Yi Li nodded in satisforce. By the way, Yanlu, take me to synthesize zombies. Yi Li looked at Li Yanlu and said. I said, don't call me Yanlu. Do you know that you are disgusting? Li Yanlu stared at Yi Li and said fiercely. Yi Li smiled. Do you really think I'm disgusting? That's right. Not only are you disgusting, but you are also extremely disgusting. Li Yanlu said coldly. Yi Li thought that no one had ever felt disgusted by him. Li Yanlu was the first. This was really interesting. Let's go, Yi Li said. Li Yanlu didn't want to talk to Yi Li anymore. She knew that she had business to tend to. Then, Li Yanlu took Yi Li to a place. The two of them arrived at a large forest that stretched as far as the eye could see. There were many genetic warriors outside the forest. They seemed to be from the Warrior Alliance. My lord, welcome. A Tier 7 evolved being hurriedly greeted Li Yanlu respectfully. Li Yanlu was the 4th general of the Warrior Alliance, so they naturally knew her. Open the zombie forest. Li Yanlu said to the Tier 7 evolved being. Yes. My lord. The Tier 7 evolved being nodded. Li Yanlu looked at Yi Li, Demon King Yi Li, all the zombies that our Warrior Alliance has raised over the years are inside. I hope you won't disappoint us. Yi Li didn't respond. His handsome face revealed an excited expression. The leader of the Warrior Alliance, Xiahou Jia, set up a barrier for the zombie forest, and the zombies inside couldn't come out. Soon, a hole appeared in the barrier. Yi Li walked in. Chapter 499, Shocking Synthesize. After walking into the zombie forest, Yi Li released the Apocalypse Legion from the system space. He used the Heavenly Spirit Eyes to take a look. There were too many zombies in this zombie forest. Yi Li was not in a hurry to ask the Apocalypse Legion to gather zombies. He thought for a moment and decided to nurture Ada and Hongye first. Since an earth-shaking battle would break out soon, if so many zombies in the Apocalypse Legion were nurtured together, they wouldn't be able to synthesize super-strong zombies. There were too many zombies in the zombie forest. He didn't need to let the Apocalypse Legion gather zombies at all. Anyway, there were zombies everywhere. Immediately, Yi Li led the Apocalypse Legion to launch a shocking synthesize. He stayed in the zombie forest for 3 days and 3 nights before he finally synthesized the last zombie. Now, Ada was already a Tier 10 master-level zombie, and so was Hongye. Now Yi Li could do whatever he wanted in the Northern Realm. Ding! As the host has synthesized many zombies, congratulations on breaking through to the Tier 2 Transcender. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a super treasure chest. Would you like to open it? Yes. Yi Li said without any hesitation. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the synthesized skill. Skill synthesize, you can synthesize all the skills and use them at the same time. The power is enough to destroy the world. Yi Li was stunned. He thought that if he combined the Flame Blade technique, the Primordial Demon Slash, the Sky Demon Tyrant Blade technique, the Demonic Devil Blade Cross Slash, and the Sky level skill, Demon God Domineering Fist, and launched an attack, he couldn't imagine what would happen. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a chance to draw a lottery. The system's voice appeared in Yi Li's mind again. Yi Li felt that his luck had come. It was like chewing gum and couldn't be stopped at all. The cheats came one after another. The virtual pointer in his mind began to spin in the roulette wheel, and a few seconds later, the pointer stopped. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the zombie skills, 3000 Ghost Cry Fist and Freeze the 9 Heavens. 3000 Ghost Cry Fist. Freezing the 9 Heavens? Yili looked excited. Wasn't this prepared for Alda and Hongye? He was really lucky. He checked the 3000 Ghost Cry Fist and Freeze the 9 Heavens. He discovered that they were all Earth-level skills. Without thinking too much, Yili fused the 3000 Ghost Cry Fist into Ada's body, Freeze the 9 Heavens into Hongye's body. It was time to go out. Yili put the Apocalypse Legion into the system space and walked out of the zombie forest. Li Yanlu was walking back and forth outside the zombie forest, her fair face very anxious. "My lord, he's out." A Tier 7 evolved being exclaimed. Li Yanlu hurriedly looked at Yili. After finding that Yili came out safely, she heaved a sigh of relief. "How is it going, Demon King Yili?" Li Yanlu looked at Yili tentatively. "Not well," Yili slowly said. Li Yanlu was a little stunned. She didn't understand what Yili meant. "What do you mean?" Li Yanlu looked at Yili in confusion. "Let's go back to the Warrior Alliance," Yili said lightly. Immediately, Yili and Li Yanlu headed for the Warrior Alliance. Before they arrived at the Warrior Alliance, Yili felt a little flustered. He had never felt like this before. He happened to arrive above the Cloud Peak Academy. Chapter 500, The Four Girls Got Caught. Yili glanced at the Cloud Peak Academy. He was above the Senior Students Institute of the Cloud Peak Academy. He wondered if something had happened to Xiao Hui and the others. "Go back to the Warrior Alliance first." "I'll go to the Cloud Peak Academy first," Yili said to Li Yanlu. "Let's go together," Li Yanlu replied. She was afraid that you would take the opportunity to slip away after leaving the Cloud Peak Academy. Then she wouldn't be able to explain to the Alliance leader when she went back. Yili continued to speak and walked towards the Cloud Peak Academy. The two figures arrived at the playground of the Senior Students Institute of Cloud Peak Academy. All the students gasped and looked at Yili and Li Yanlu dumbfounded. "It's Demon King Yili and the Fourth General." When Yili and Li Yanlu arrived at the Cloud Peak Academy, the news was instantly told to the president, Gu Feng. Gu Feng hurriedly came out to welcome him, his old face full of panic. He already knew that the Demon King, Yili, had cooperated with the Warrior Alliance. Now, the Warrior Alliance had issued an order that any genetic warrior who dared to cause trouble for the Demon King, Yili, would be going against the Warrior Alliance. Where are Xiao Hui and the others? Yili looked at Gu Feng. Since he transmigrated to this parallel world, he had never been as panicked as today. He felt that something had happened. Well, Gu Feng hesitated. "If you don't tell me, die," Yili said coldly. Even a dragon had its vulnerable spot, and Xiao Hui and the others were his vulnerable spot. Gu Feng was shocked. He didn't dare to hide anything and hurriedly said, "Xiao Hui, Yun Man, Su Suner and Lu Qian went to the Dark Mountain with Lu Yu to gain experience yesterday and haven't returned yet. I've already sent people out to find them. Have you found them?" Gu Feng was already drenched in cold sweat. He shook his head. "No." Yili sneered. "Were they taken away?" It was no secret that he had the dragon-slaying blade. Perhaps they were taken away and then threatened him. At this moment, a phantom of a dark race member suddenly appeared in front of Yili, the patriarch of the undead race. "Inform the Demon King Yili that his 4 women are in my hands. Tell him to come to the undead race with the dragon-slaying blade for an exchange. He can only come alone, otherwise, his 4 women will die." With that, the phantom of the dark race member disappeared. Yili smiled casually. There was no need to tell him. He was right here. The undead race, right? How dare he touch my vulnerable spot? Hee hee. Where is the undead race? Yi Li looked at Gu Feng. Li Yanlu looked at the expression on Yi Li's face. That day in the Heavenly Star Academy, Yi Li asked her to call him little brother in front of countless people. She had thought that Yi Li was a lecher, but now it seemed that she was wrong. How could Gu Feng, the president of the Cloud Peak Academy, dare to hide anything from Yi Li? He quickly told Yi Li the location of the undead race. Demon King Yi Li, the undead race is a very strong dark race member. Should we tell this to the alliance leader? Li Yanlu asked. Yi Li sneered. If I, Yi Li, can't even save my own woman, am one still the Demon King? Yi Li. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Li activated the swift steps and disappeared. Li Yanlu pondered for a few seconds and then stepped on her dustless sword, heading for the warrior alliance. According to the position given by Gu Feng, Yi Li arrived outside the undead race. Some 5th-tier undead looked at Yi Li in shock. Are you Demon King Yi Li? A 5th-tier undead asked. Chapter 501, Undead Race. The 5th-tier undeads couldn't believe it. This Demon King Yi Li had really come alone. Where was his Apocalypse Legion? Where were the Fist God Zombie and the Ice Zombie? These days, they had heard a lot about the Apocalypse Legion. The Fist God Zombie, could punch a hole in the sky, and Hongye, the Ice Zombie, was covered in cold air that could even seal the sea. Of course, they wouldn't believe it. Demon King Yi Li, how dare you come? Just for a few women. Is it worth it? A 5th-tier undead looked at Yi Li in disdain. Yi Li didn't speak. He took out the dragon-slaying blade from the system space. A 5-clawed blood dragon hovered in the air, accompanied by dragon and broadsword cries. Dragon-slaying blade. The eyes of these 5th-tier undeads couldn't help but glow. They thought that the dragon-slaying blade was too terrifying. Just looking at it made them scared. Demon King Yi Li, you made the right choice. Now hand over the dragon-slaying blade, a 5th-tier undead said with a smile. Swish. A cold glint appeared first, followed by a slash like a dragon. Several 5th-tier undeads died instantly, without even leaving their corpses. Yi Li slowly walked into the territory of the undead race. In an instant, countless undeads surrounded him. Swish. A cold light thousands of meters long appeared, and hundreds of undead creatures were instantly melted. Demon King Yi Li, why are you so angry? A voice entered Yi Li's ears. Then, the phantom of the dark race member that appeared in the Cloud Peak Academy appeared in front of Yi Li. Yi Li looked at the undead in front of him, a Tier 1 master-level member of the dark race. In addition, there were a few 10th-tier undead creatures. Demon King Yi Li, hand over the dragon-slaying blade. A 10th-tier undead sneered at Yi Li. Swish. With one slash, the life of this 10th-tier undead would disappear from this world forever. Demon King Yi Li, how dare you? The Tier 1 master-level undead widened his eyes. Now that the Demon King Yi Li's woman was in their hands, could it be, did the Demon King Yi Li not care at all? Thinking of this, the Tier 1 master-level dark race member panicked. Demon King Yi Li, aren't you afraid that your woman will die in front of you? Yi Li smiled faintly. Do you ants deserve to talk to me? As soon as he said so, Yi Li's dragon-slaying blade had already reached the neck of the Tier 1 master-level undead. Let them go, or you'll die. There was no expression on Yi Li's face, as if he were a peerless ferocious god from the inferno. The Tier 1 master-level undead's eyes widened. Before he could react, the dragon-slaying blade was pressed against his neck. Hee hee, Demon King Yi Li, do you really think I'm afraid? The Tier 1 master-level undead calmed down and said coldly to Yi Li, you can try. Yi Li's face was terrifyingly cold. For some reason, Looking at the expression on Yili's face, the Tier 1 Master level undead felt his entire body tremble involuntarily. The undead creatures even held their breath. Silence, a deadly silence. The Tier 1 Master level undead knew that Yili was definitely not bluffing. Bring them up, the Tier 1 Master level undead said coldly. Soon, the four women and their teacher, Lu Yu, appeared in front of Yili. Demon King, how about we make a deal? You hand over the dragon-slaying blade to me, and one will release your women. Chapter 502, Decisive and Ruthless. The four women and Lu Yu looked at Yili. They didn't know whether to be excited or afraid. This was a clan of dark race. Hee hee. Yili smiled. What are you laughing at? The Tier 1 Master-level Dark Race member stared at Yili. Although he would die if the dragon-slaying blade went any further, if he died, Yili's woman wouldn't be able to survive either. The Tier 1 Master-level Dark Race member certainly didn't understand why Yili could still laugh. I'm laughing at your ignorance. How dare you threaten me? Yili shook his head. Swish. A cold light appeared, and the Tier 1 Master-level undead was killed. Yili was now a Tier 2 Transcender. In Yili's eyes, a Tier 1 Master-level undead was pitifully weak. At the moment when the Tier 1 Master-level undead died, a few undead creatures were about to attack the four women and Lu Yu. Unfortunately, Yili had already activated the swift steps. In an instant, Yili arrived in front of the four women. Primordial Demon Slash. The 3,000 god and demon phantoms attacked, and the undead around the women turned into ashes. Let's fight the Demon King Yili. Attack! At this moment, countless undead creatures rushed towards Yili. Yili smiled faintly, raised his fist, and slowly said word by word, Demon God Domineering Fist. The sky-level technique, Demon God Domineering Fist, was extremely powerful. Boom! In an instant, everyone felt that the sky was about to collapse. Countless undead creatures were reduced to ashes, leaving no corpses. Seeing this scene, the remaining undead were already scared out of their wits. They hurriedly ran for their lives, their speed reaching the fastest in history. Senior. The four women called Yili with lingering fear. The unparalleled combat power that Yili showed just now was really terrifying. Although Lu Yu, the teacher of the four women, was a teacher of the Cloud Peak Academy, she felt that in front of Yili, she was like an ant. Yili could instantly kill her thousands of times. Yili sent them back to the Cloud Peak Academy and asked them not to run around. Then, he went to the Warrior Alliance. Alliance leader, do you think Demon King Yili can? Before Li Yanlu finished speaking, he was interrupted by Xiahou Jie. If he can't even solve the small undead race, is he still the Demon King Yili? Xiahou Jie said. With that, a seventh tier evolved being ran into the hall. Alliance leader, the Demon King Yili has come. Xiahou Jie's eyes lit up, and a smile appeared on his face. A few seconds later, Yili walked into the hall. Xiahou Jie hurriedly invited Yili to sit down. Demon King Yili, how are you doing in the zombie forest? This was what Xiahou Jie was most concerned about. After all, to completely destroy the Dark Temple in the Northern Realm, he needed the help of Demon King Yili. Not bad. Aada and Hongye became 10th tier master-level zombies, Yili said slowly. Xiahou Jie was overjoyed to hear that. He gave Yili a thumbs up. As expected of the Demon King, Yili. It's really terrifying, Xiahou Jie said. Everyone in the hall looked at each other in shock when they heard this. They naturally knew Alda and Hongye, who were the zombies in the Apocalypse Legion. But 10th tier master-level zombies? This was unbelievable. The sect master of the Warrior Alliance was only a 10th level transcender. The Alliance leader made such an important decision without discussing it with me. Do I, the Grand Elder, have no say at all? Suddenly, a deep voice entered everyone's ears. Chapter 503, Grand Elder of the Warrior Alliance. With that, an old man walked into the hall. The elderly person has a dignified appearance, with eyes as sharp as an eagle's, as if just one glance from those eyes could terrify someone half to death. Behind the old man was a youth. The youth was none other than Wang Tian, the #1 genius of the Cloud Peak Academy, Wang Tian. The old man's name was Wang Zong, and he was the Grand Elder of the Warrior Alliance. Xiahou Jia looked at Wang Zong. A few seconds later, he smiled. Grand Elder, congratulations on your breakthrough. Now our Warrior Alliance has 2 10th-tier Transcenders. A few days ago, Wang Zong had been in seclusion and only came out yesterday. He only learned about Yili yesterday. Are you the Demon King, Yili? Grand Elder Wang Zong narrowed his eyes and looked at Yili. Wang Tian looked at Yili coldly. That day in Yun City's restaurant, Yili actually treated him like this. Now, the chance to take revenge had finally come. Do I need to tell you if I am the Demon King, Yili? Yili said lightly. Wang Zong was stunned. He didn't know how many years it had been since he heard such words. Hehe, the Demon King Yili is the Demon King Yili. You're really special. How dare a Tier 2 Transcender say such a thing to me? Demon King Yili, one admire you very much. Wang Zong stared at Yili and said coldly. Grand Elder, Demon King Yili is now the partner of our Warrior Alliance. I thank you, Grand Elder Wang Zong sneered. Since the Alliance leader has made a decision, one can't say much. However, how should we settle the matter of Demon King Yili seriously injuring my grandson? That day, in a restaurant in Yun City, Wang Tian's hands and feet were pierced by Yili's golden spiritual light attack. Yili didn't want to either, but Wang Tian didn't answer his question. He had given Wang Tian a chance, but he didn't cherish it. Demon King Yili, what do you think we should do? Wang Zong looked at Yili and asked. Grand Elder Wang Zong had a very high status in the Warrior Alliance, even higher than the Alliance leader. He was also the most powerful person in the Warrior Alliance. Generally speaking, even the Alliance leader, Xiahou Jia, had to concede to him. Now that Wang Zong had broken through to become a 10th-tier Transcender, he was naturally even more arrogant. What should we do? Yili smiled casually. Wang Tian looked at the smile on Yili's face. He didn't expect Yili to be able to smile. Facing his grandfather, he actually didn't look afraid at all. Seeing this, Wang Tian couldn't help but be furious. Yili, what else do you have to be calm about? Kneel and kowtow 3 times to me, and I'll spare you. Otherwise, Wang Tian didn't finish his sentence. He wanted Yili to understand on his own. Anyway, if he didn't agree, the consequences would be serious. Demon King Yili, this condition is not too much, right? Grand Elder Wang Zong looked at Yili. Grand Elder, are you the Alliance leader or am I the Alliance leader of the Warrior Alliance? Xiahou Jia shouted angrily. Wang Zong smiled. Alliance leader, this Demon King Yili is a demon. It's a mistake for you to choose to cooperate with him. Swish. When no one was paying attention, a golden spiritual light attack flew out of Yili's finger. Ah! A scream came. The #1 genius of the Cloud Peak Academy, Wang Tian, had died. Seeing this scene, everyone in the hall was dumbfounded. Tianer! Grand Elder Wang Zong shouted, his eyes red. Chapter 504, The Grand Elder Quit the Warrior Alliance. Everyone in the hall of the Warrior Alliance was shocked. They didn't expect Yili to suddenly attack. Tianer. De Shanglei's eyes were red as he looked at Wang Tian's corpse on the ground. Demon King Yili, I want your life. Wang Zong gritted his teeth and said. Suddenly, Wang Zong slapped Yili. Wang Zong was a 10th-tier Transcender, and Yili was only a Tier 2 Transcender now, so he was naturally no match for Wang Zong. But he had Ada and Hongye. Now, Ada and Hongye had both become 10th-tier master-level zombies. Yili was about to release Ada and Hongye from the system space, when a figure appeared in front of Yili. It was none other than the alliance leader of the warrior alliance, Xiahou Jie. Xiahou Jie raised his palm, which collided heavily with that of Grand Elder Wang Zong. Boom! In an instant, spiritual energy spread in the hall, and the tables and chairs were all shattered. Xiahou Jie, are you going to stop me? Wang Zong stared at Xiahou Jie. Grand Elder, since I've decided to cooperate with the Demon King, Yi Li, then you can't fight him. Xiahou Jie said coldly. Xiahou Jie, do you really mean that? Wang Zong's expression was cold and terrifying. His only grandson had died at the hands of Yi Li. If he didn't take revenge, he wouldn't be a human. Grand Elder, it's your grandson who has been provoking Yi Li. Yi Li is not in the wrong, Xiahou Jie said. Grand Elder Wang Zong had just broken through to the 10th-tier transcender, but Xiahou Jie had been a 10th-tier transcender for several years. If they really fought, Wang Zong was naturally no match for Xiahou Jie. Ha ha ha. Wang Zong laughed out loud, and his face turned grim again. Xiahou Jie, Demon King Yi Li, I, Wang Zong, quit the warrior alliance. Just wait. With that, Grand Elder Wang Zong carried Wang Tian's corpse and walked out of the hall. The 5 generals in the hall all looked at each other. The Grand Elder wanted to quit the warrior alliance. This was a big deal. Wang Zong was the most powerful person in the warrior alliance. There were countless people who listened to him. If he quit the warrior alliance, he would have to take away at least 70% of the people in the warrior alliance. Alliance leader, this, Li Yanlu looked at Xiahou Jie. Xiahou Jie sneered. The Grand Elder has always been unconvinced of me, but my realm is higher than his. Now that he has become a 10th-tier transcender, he will naturally be even more arrogant. As you can see just now, the Grand Elder doesn't take me, the alliance leader, seriously at all. In Xiahou Jie's opinion, there would be a battle between him and the Grand Elder sooner or later. He didn't want to cause too much trouble at this critical moment, but since Yi Li had taken action, he might as well bring this matter forward. One heard that something big happened in the warrior alliance. The Grand Elder quit the warrior alliance. Yes, countless families quit the warrior alliance with the Grand Elder. What happened? I have a friend from the Wang family. I heard that the Demon King Yi Li killed the Grand Elder's biological grandson, Wang Tian, so, all the genetic warriors in this area knew of this matter. After the Grand Elder led countless families to quit the warrior alliance, everyone knew that a shocking battle was coming. The Demon King Yi Li killed Grand Elder's grandson, so the Grand Elder certainly wouldn't let it go. Sure enough, on this day, Grand Elder Wang Zong led countless strong masters to surround the main hall of the Warrior Alliance. Many forces that didn't belong to the Warrior Alliance came after hearing the news, just to watch a shocking battle. Chapter 505, Surround the Warrior Alliance in the Hall of the Warrior Alliance. Master, the Grand Elder has surrounded the main hall with his subordinates, Qian Kun reported to Xiahou Jie. In the hall at this moment, not only were the 5 generals of the Warrior Alliance present, but also many powerful members from various families, all of whom had good relations with Xiahou Jie. Humph. Xiahou Jie snorted, the enemy comes, we block, water comes, we cover with earth. I've been displeased with the Grand Elder for a long time. If people didn't know better, they would think he's the true leader of the Warrior Alliance. Let's fight, Master. Yes, Master, let's fight. At worst, in 18 years, we'll have another life. All the clan leaders looked to Xiahou Jie, awaiting his command. Meanwhile, Yi Liu leisurely sipped his tea, observing the cup in his hand, realizing it was made of valuable white jade. Seeing Yi Li's nonchalant attitude, Li Yanlu furrowed her brows. Demon King Yi Li, this whole mess is because of you. Why are you acting as if nothing happened? Li Yanlu looked displeased at Yili. Yili smiled faintly. Yanlu, if one don't act like this, what else should one do? Do you want me to cry? Upon hearing this, Li Yanlu became furious. She stared at Yili. You. Then, Li Yanlu turned to Xiahou Jie. Master, I don't think we need to help him. He doesn't care, so why should we? Li Yanlu was genuinely angry. The main hall of the warrior alliance was already surrounded, and yet Yili remained so indifferent. How could she not be angry? Xiahou Jie hadn't spoken yet when a grim voice echoed in everyone's ears. Xiahou Jie, one don't want to make things difficult for you. Well, settle our accounts later. Hand over the Demon King Yili. If you choose not to, you should know the consequences. The voice belonged to the Grand Elder, Wang Zong. Upon hearing this, Yili slowly stood up from his seat, his face calm as still water. Afraid? No. Yili would never be afraid. If someone wanted to deal with him, he would face it. Let's see who's more formidable. Li Yanlu watched Yili's back in amazement. Is he crazy? Going out alone? In Li Yanlu's eyes, Yili walking out like this meant nothing but seeking death. Let's go out too, Xiahou Jie said. Soon, everyone in the main hall walked out. Yili walked out slowly and saw hundreds of genetic warriors in front of him. Even the lowest among them was a 10th-tier evolved being. The highest was, of course, Grand Elder Wang Zong, and most others were 1st or 2nd-tier transcenders. Such a force gathered together was enough to destroy heaven and earth. Demon King Yili, you finally came out. Wang Zong looked at Yili coldly. Xiahou Jie also led hundreds of genetic warriors to stand in front of Yili. Various forces that came to watch the battle held their breath because they knew that if a fight broke out, it would be earth-shattering. You old dog, do you really think you can avenge Wang Tian? Yili looked at Wang Zong indifferently. As soon as these words came out, everyone involuntarily gasped. They couldn't have imagined that Yili would dare to call the Grand Elder an old dog. Demon King Yili, today is your death date. Wang Zong roared angrily. He was already infuriated to the extreme. Death? Yili smiled calmly. No one can kill me. Chapter 506, Skill Synthesis. Wang Zong looked at Xiahou Jie with a cold expression. Xiahou Jie, do you really intend to help the Demon King Yili? Yes. Wang Zong's expression turned cold, and he gritted his teeth, saying, in that case, let's fight. As the words fell, Wang Zong gave the order. Attack! Suddenly, more than 400 high-level genetic warriors rushed towards Yili. Xiahou Jie was about to give the command but was stopped by Yili. He looked at Yili in great confusion. Demon King Yili, what are you doing? Yili smiled, this matter started because of me. There's no need to involve you. Just watch. With that, Yili released Ada and Hongye from the system space. 2 10th-tier master-level zombies. Yili didn't release the other zombies. He knew that if he let them out, they would only become cannon fodder. Roar! Ada unleashed the Earth-level skill, 3000 Ghost Cry Fist. Hongye used the Earth-level skill, Freeze the 9 Heavens. The strength of 2 10th-tier master-level zombies, combined with Earth-level skills, was no joke. They hurriedly retreated. Wang Zong didn't make a move. He never expected that Yili would have 2 10th-tier master-level zombies. Demon King Yili, one heard you have an Apocalypse Legion. Are these 2 10th-tier master-level zombies your reliance? Wang Zong's expression was terrifyingly cold. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It's fair. Since you want to avenge your grandson, come then. Yili spoke slowly, his face showing no emotion. The various forces watching the battle held their breath. In their eyes, Demon King Yili and the two 10th tier master level zombies were truly terrifying. Divine Power Palm. Suddenly, Wang Zong fiercely struck towards Yili. A palm formed from gathered spiritual energy came crashing down towards Yili. The attack was terrifying beyond measure. Yili activated the 6th level of the ancient devil tome, and his overall attributes skyrocketed. Demon God Domineering Fist. Yili used the heaven level skill, Demon God Domineering Fist. In an instant, countless terrifying fist shadows, accompanied by numerous gods and demons, attacked the giant palm. Boom! A thunderous sound shook the heavens and the earth. All the genetic warriors watching the battle collapsed to the ground. Their eyes were filled with horror. How is this possible? Wang Zong roared in anger. He couldn't believe that Yili had actually withstood his attack. Attack! Wang Zong roared again, and hundreds of genetic warriors used their respective skills, launching an onslaught towards Yili. Skill Synthesis. Flame Blade Technique, Primordial Demon Slash, Sky Demon Tyrant Blade Technique, Demonic Devil Blade Cross Slash and Demon God Domineering Fist. 4 SSS level skills combined with 1 heaven level skill. In an instant, a giant god demon, hundreds of meters in size, appeared behind Yili. Boom! A demonic aura swept across 30,000 miles, and a single fist chilled the entire world. How could words describe such an attack? In an instant, the world changed color. The genetic warriors were sent flying one after another. Silence, a deadly silence. The various forces watching the battle had their eyes widened like never before. Wang Zong's old face showed extreme horror. He couldn't believe such an attack. He truly couldn't believe that it was unleashed by a second-tier transcender. Xiahou Jia and the others were in the same state. They all stood there like statues, unable to move. Chapter 507, Entering the Heavenly Tower to cultivate it was the Demon King Yili after all. This cheat was ridiculous. 4 SSS level skills and 1 sky level skill. Could it be a joke to synthesize them together? This blow scared hundreds of genetic warriors. Wang Zong regained his senses, looking at Yili in shock. Demon King Yili, one didn't expect you to be this terrifying. Wang Zong couldn't believe it. He really couldn't believe it. Yili's face was calm as water, as if nothing had happened. He's actually so powerful. Li Yanlu looked at Yili in astonishment. She stared at Yili's slightly thin figure. When Yili unleashed that terrifying attack just now, she felt like she was in the depths of hell. No wonder he could be so calm and composed in the main hall. At this moment, Li Yanlu truly understood the true terror of Yili. Grand Elder, let's retreat. Even if we go all out, we can kill this Demon King Yili, but Xiahou Jia and the others are eyeing us. A second-tier transcender said to Wang Zong. Wang Zong pondered for a few seconds, then looked coldly at Yili. Demon King Yili, we will meet again. After speaking, the Grand Elder led hundreds of genetic warriors away. Yili didn't choose to pursue. Even if he could kill Wang Zong, the cost would be too high. However, he knew that before long, Wang Zong would die. Yili didn't idle. He ordered the Apocalypse Legion to gather zombies, and this time, he would gather countless zombies. The scope of gathering zombies this time was wider, from various regions in the northern domain. Although his strength was decent now, he still couldn't do whatever he wanted in the northern domain. If necessary, he would buy berserk potions from the Point Mall. He had used berserk potions several times before, and during the time in the ruins of the wilderness city, he slept for a whole year due to using too many berserk potions. Now, it was time for him to cultivate. After crossing into this parallel world, he had never practiced. He could level up just by synthesizing zombies. But today was different, he had to cultivate. I'm going into secluded cultivation, Yili said to Xiahou Jie. Xiahou Jie was puzzled. Secluded cultivation. Before Xiahou Jia could speak, Yili disappeared on the spot. Yili arrived at the top of a mountain. If the host wants to cultivate, you can enter the heavenly tower for cultivation. The system's voice suddenly appeared in Yili's mind. Yili was slightly stunned. He didn't know that heavenly tower could be used for cultivation. Then, he took out heavenly tower from the system space. After heavenly tower recognized him as its master, he found that he could use heavenly tower at will. Yili entered the first floor of heavenly tower. He felt a rich spiritual energy. He had been to places with rich spiritual energy before, but this level of concentration was unprecedented. It wasn't difficult to imagine, the higher the floor, the more concentrated the spiritual energy. After reaching the 4th floor, Yili found that he couldn't go up anymore. There was no choice, he could only cultivate on the 4th floor. Unexpectedly, on the 4th floor, not only was the spiritual energy extremely rich, but time also passed extremely quickly. One day inside was equivalent to a month outside. Ding! Congratulations to the host for upgrading your talent to the Earth level. Hearing the system's voice, Yili originally thought that SSS level was the highest talent, but now it seemed that it was far from that. Yili stayed on the 4th floor for a month. He went from a 2nd-tier transcender to a 3rd-tier transcender. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the opportunity of skill fusion. Chapter 508, All Kinds of Cheats, Opportunity for Skill Fusion. Yili was a bit puzzled. It means merging the desired skills into a completely new one. As the system explained, Yili understood. Please choose the skills you want to fuse. Without hesitation, Yili chose the skills: Flame Blade Technique, Primordial Demon Slash, Sky Demon Tyrant Blade Technique, and Demonic Devil Blade Cross Slash. These 4 skills were now only SSS level, and they were not very useful for him. Skill fusion begins 10%, 30%, 60%, 100%. Skill fusion complete. Congratulations, host, on obtaining the heaven grade skill, Annihilation Finger. Annihilation Finger. Yili's face lit up. Now he had 2 heaven grade skills. With 2 heaven grade skills, unleashing an attack by combining skills, Yili couldn't help but imagine such a scene. It must be spectacular. Ding! Congratulations, host, for obtaining a chance to draw a random prize. The virtual pointer started spinning in the roulette. Congratulations, host, on drawing the weapon fusion skill. Weapon fusion. Yili was a bit stunned. What was this weapon fusion? Was it similar to skill fusion? Host, after weapon fusion, you can obtain a completely new weapon, but the new weapon will still have the original abilities of the old weapons. After contemplating for a few seconds, Yili said, so, if the fused weapon is an axe, can one still enter the axe for cultivation? Yes, host. With the affirmative answer from the system, Yili felt relieved. Now, please choose the weapons you want to fuse. Yili fused the dragon-slaying blade, heavenly tower, and Eastern Emperor bell without hesitation. After a few seconds, the system's voice echoed in Yili's mind. Congratulations, host, on obtaining an unparalleled divine artifact, the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword. Sword. Yili thought that the name Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword was indeed domineering, but he didn't know how powerful it was. The Ancient Devil Tome has transformed into the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword Embryo. The Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword Embryo has been upgraded to the 1st level. Yili was stunned. What was going on? Did the Ancient Devil Tome voluntarily transform into this Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword Embryo? Yes, host. Because the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword is an unparalleled divine artifact, one implant a sword spirit into it for you. The Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword Embryo is the most suitable for you. After the ancient devil tome turned into the ancient dragon abyss sword embryo, it meant that he was no longer a demon but a human. However, whether he was human or a demon, he didn't care. In his eyes, it was the same. At this moment, Yili was still in the heavenly tower of the ancient dragon abyss sword. Now that he was a third-tier transcender, he looked towards the fifth floor. When he was still a second-tier transcender, he couldn't enter the fifth floor. Afterwards, Yili advanced to the fifth floor. As expected, he could indeed enter the fifth floor now. The spiritual energy on the fifth floor was even denser, and time passed even faster. In this way, it took Yili another month to finally reach the seventh floor. The seventh floor was already the top floor. He had also become a seventh-tier transcender from a third-tier transcender. Such a speed of advancement was probably unprecedented. Yili left the heavenly tower, looking at the ancient dragon abyss sword in his hand. The ancient dragon abyss sword was entirely crimson, and it looked incredibly sharp. Ancient dragon abyss sword, formed by the fusion of the dragon-slaying blade, heavenly tower, and Eastern Emperor bell, it possesses the sharpness of the dragon-slaying blade, the spatial abilities of heavenly tower, and the wailing of the Eastern Emperor bell. Without much thought, Yili stored the ancient dragon abyss sword in the system space. Chapter 509, Heaven Grade Skills for All Apocalypse Legion members. Yili looked at the rising sun still on the mountain and smiled inwardly. He glanced at his attribute panel, Host, Yili. System, Super Synthesis System. Weapon, Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword. Realm, 7th Tier Transcender. Skills, Heaven Grade Skill, Demon God Domineering Fist, Heaven Grade Skill, Annihilation Finger. Zombies, Apocalypse Legion. Yili thought his realm was a bit low, he needed to continue cultivating. But before that, he had to synthesize some zombies. That's because the Apocalypse Legion had arrived with the zombies. Yili activated the swift steps and arrived at a city. Again, the city was filled with zombies. This time, the number of zombies was simply too much. Fortunately, Yili had the bulk synthesis ability, otherwise, it would take him a lot of time. 10th Tier Master Level Zombie, Hongye, 10th Tier Master Level Zombie, Baiwawa, 7th Tier Master Level Zombie, Yutong, 7th Tier Master Level Zombie, Al-Chi, 6th Tier Master Level Zombie, Bone Maiden, 6th Tier Master Level Zombie, Long Yu, 6th Tier Master Level Zombie, MOU, 6th Tier Master Level Zombie. MOU was the Zombie Queen. Yili had given her the name not long ago. Ding! Congratulations, host, on obtaining the opportunity for zombie fusion. Yili had obtained the opportunity to fuse zombies when he was in the Anan base city. He fused the silver, copper, and iron of the White Lotus sect with Ada. And now, he obtained it again. Yili thought for a moment and decided to fuse the 18 copper armor-clawed zombies. He had a feeling that the 18 copper armor-clawed zombies weren't very useful. Then Yili fused the 18 copper armor-clawed zombies with Alda. Zombie fusion begins. 10%. 30%. 60%. 100%. Fusion complete. Ada upgraded to a first-tier Lord-level zombie. Above the Master-level zombies were the Lord-level zombies. The North Realm was too weak, there were no powerful zombies. The world was vast, and Yili knew that his strength was strong in the North Realm, but it was insignificant in the entire world. Yili wondered if he should give each zombie in the Apocalypse Legion a heaven-grade skill. The current zombie skills were too trash, they were practically useless. He hadn't thought about this issue before. He opened the points mall in his mind. His points had reached an astonishing level. He found the zombie skill fusion. Yili bought it without checking the price. Next, he began to fuse the skills of each zombie in the Apocalypse Legion. For those zombies whose skills couldn't be fused into a heaven-grade skill, he bought earth-grade skills from the points mall. Unfortunately, the Points Mall didn't have heaven-grade skills exclusively for zombies. Finally, every zombie in the Apocalypse Legion had an exclusive heaven-grade skill. True Fire Domineering Fist. Hongye, Sky Burning Cold Chi. Bai Wawa, Heavenly Destruction Demonic Foot. Yutong, Great Sky Petrification. Chi, 13 Ghost Swords of Blue Cloud. Bone Maiden, Sky Swallowing Demon Technique. Long Yu, Startling Spear Technique. Mou, Sky Destroying Fist. Every zombie now had an exclusive heaven-grade skill. Yili was very satisfied, and he didn't care how many points he had spent. Next, Yili sneered, it was time to take revenge. Immediately, Yili placed the Apocalypse Legion into the system space, activated the swift steps, and disappeared from the spot. Before arriving at the Warrior Alliance, he unexpectedly found himself in a small city and saw Li Yanlu fighting against several second-tier transcenders. Although Li Yanlu was a third-tier transcender, it was evident that she was struggling against 5 second-tier transcenders. Chapter 510, Li Yanlu's shock. 5 Tier 2 transcenders surrounded Li Yanlu. Li Yanlu, let's see where you can escape this time. A Tier 2 transcender stared at Li Yanlu and sneered. Li Yanlu's expression turned cold when she heard that. She had been looking for the place where Yili was cultivating in seclusion these days, but she hadn't found where Yili was cultivating. After arriving in Lan City, she met genetic warriors under the Grand Elder's command. Li Yanlu held the dustless sword tightly in her hand. If there were 2 or 3 Tier 2 transcenders, she could still fight, but there were 5 Tier 2 transcenders. Even if she tried her best, she could only kill 2 at most, and she would also die. Li Yanlu, put down your dustless sword and surrender. No one will save you, a Tier 2 transcender said smugly. In their opinion, Li Yanlu was at a loss for what to do. Even if I die, I won't let you off easily, Li Yanlu said coldly. At this moment, Yili was on the roof of a tall building. His handsome face was expressionless. Now, he was already a 7th-tier transcender. In his eyes, the people below were too weak. Li Yanlu, since you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit, don't blame us. Goodbye, esteemed 5th War General. As soon as he said so, the 5 Tier 2 transcenders attacked Li Yanlu together. Li Yanlu used the dustless sword to fight the 5 Tier 2 transcenders. Countless buildings were destroyed. The destruction ability of transcenders was too strong. Suddenly, Li Yanlu used the unparalleled sword intent, and a Tier 2 transcender died under the unparalleled sword intent. After Li Yanlu used the unparalleled sword intent, the attacks of several Tier 2 transcender arrived in front of her. At such a distance, she wouldn't be able to dodge even if she had 100 legs. At this critical moment, Yili slowly raised his finger, and several terrifying golden spiritual attacks flew out of his finger. Swish! 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 As several wind-breaking sounds sounded, a shocking bloody hole appeared on each of the foreheads of the remaining 4 Tier 2 transcenders. Li Yanlu was shocked. She had thought that she would definitely die. She didn't expect to be able to survive. And, golden spiritual attack. Suddenly, Li Yanlu's pupils were constricted. Demon King Yili. She was about to look for Yili, only to find that Yili had already arrived in front of her. The young man's slightly thin back shocked her deeply. Yili turned his face and looked at Li Yanlu indifferently. Are you shocked by my appearance? Li Yanlu was beyond shocked. If it weren't for Yili, she would have been dead. Li Yanlu didn't know how to answer Yili. Yili continued, don't be shocked forever, because everything one do will shock you for 3 days and 3 nights. As soon as he said this, Li Yanlu couldn't help but be even more shocked. Let's go. Yili slowly said to Li Yanlu. Li Yanlu was stunned. Where are we going? She even felt that she couldn't breathe because the aura exuding from Yili was too terrifying. She remembered that before Yili went into seclusion, his aura was not even 1% as terrifying as now, but now, Li Yanlu couldn't imagine how strong Yili was. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.